Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of A to Z, you guys, starring me, Zero Rimson, as your resident Yang, and Aaron Chase as your resident Yin. Usually I do it in the other order because that's how everyone understands it. But I remembered myself first because I'm important. Anywho, so today we're going to be talking about, if you guys have been keeping up watching Aaron's stuff, he finally released the special. He named it and everything. And so he's going to tell us about how he's feeling about that. I'm going to ask my questions about it. Also, insight, you know how the show works. We're just going to talk. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm proud of how it came out, actually.
That's good.
I yeah, I think the best part of it is the intro.
Yeah, no, the intro is real strong. Like all the
Yeah.
shots of you like setting up and then like doing the voiceover and like especially I don't know why and like it's so on the nose, but the part where sorry, hold on. Excuse me. The part where it's like, I got nothing to lose, and then like it's like, yeah, and you probably think that like, yeah, this guy's got nothing to lose, and it's a shot of you shirtless, like at a drawing board. I'm like, even though he's not, this looks like, yeah, you got nothing to lose. This looks like a homeless gentleman for sure. It's
It does look really, really pathetic in many ways.
I was like, okay, I'm bought in.
Yeah. No, I think the intro, like, it really set the tone for what the special was. So far, I've gotten other than that one dislike on the YouTube channel, I've gotten positive feedback from everybody. Comics are reacting in a way that is unsurprising.
Really? Yeah, in what way? Oh, by the way, I had my show this week, and that you came up, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
In a good way, because my stomach just dropped.
Yeah, in a good way, but in a like,
Oh,
I think they watched the special, and because they watched the special, and like some of them don't interact with this podcast, or even if they do, it's that part where like if you get jumped in via this special, right? It's kind of like that doesn't leave you feeling like Aaron is okay. Like you watch that whole thing, you're like, oh, do I need to talk to him? Is he all right? And that was pretty much that was all that happened. Like that was literally my interaction with comics was just like, hey, is he okay? He's doing good. Like I watched this thing. I thought it was like nicely put together, but like is that all right? And like is it? And I'm like, yeah, no, he's doing way better actually. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff, but he's
I can see how if you haven't talked to me in this past however many months, that seeing just that can come off real concerning. But most comics reactions, their critique usually goes back to like, add more jokes, here's more punches, you can stretch this
to
out.
be more comedy.
Right. And that wasn't my intention. And I don't plan on doing anything with that material. I don't even call it material. I was improvised. Like it was just that notebook was just
Points.
Was just like bullet points. Like, all right, tell this story and see what happens. So yeah, that was all improvised for the most part.
Yeah.
So that was the only critique I kept hearing was like you could have punched it up more, but you know, it's understandable that comics would look at it that way. That makes sense.
Right. Excuse me.
So I want to know. So wait, so people are concerned about me now?
Yeah. Well, it was only it was Johnny Gold and Nick Laney, and they were they were just like that very like. I mean, you know, by those two names, they clearly really are like, oh man, Aaron. Like it's like, but not like it wasn't like. I don't want to make it seem like they were there like, hey, like, do we need to do something? Should we get something together? And like all that, like, no, it was the general, like, you're dealing with, I think it was more seeing you pass because all of us in the comedy industry, except for those who are like actually close and really good friends, like in general, we know of each other. We hang out ish. We're like friend adjacent. It's not that you're like my friend, but you're definitely like, if we have a class together, I'll hang with you. Like that type of deal is
Right.
usually most comics interaction. So seeing you open up in such a way about all this very heavy, real stuff is probably new for some people. It's probably taking it in and being like, oh, like that's not a side of him I see. I didn't know that happened to him. I didn't know he was dealing with that. Again, a lot of the thing that you talk about where it's like you feel crazy because you have all that going on in your head and you're living your life, and then people interact with you like, you're off, but I can't figure out why. And then this is kind of showing like, this is kind of why I'm off. This is why I'm like,
It's a little bit of
oh.
context.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So people are surprised?
I wouldn't. How do I explain it? It's so interesting to do the playback. I wouldn't say like surprised. It's like if you had a friend and they like came into the room every day and they smelled kind of weird. You couldn't quite place the smell, but they smelled kind of weird, and then they were like a little bit like their balance wasn't always on, but they could put it together. If later you found out that person was an alcoholic, you'd be like, oh, wow, okay. Do they are they good? Like if they're handling it, they're functioning and it's fine. But like, should we if we don't have to? You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I guess this is what's so fucked up about the quarantine. This is the thing. This is probably the worst thing I'm feeling about quarantine is I feel really disconnected from people. And
That's interesting considering your whole thing of like wanting to be away from people.
right. No, I enjoy it. Like I'm happy and stuff, but like when I do talk with people, like I did the Night Guy and Baldy with Henderson.
Okay.
And there was something I was also, you've never experienced this. Being too high is never fun. But I was just in my head. But what kept going in my head was like, oh, fuck, man, not that I don't know William, but I don't know there's just that connection isn't the same because I'm not seeing him every single night at Mike's and stuff.
Right.
It's just like, we don't talk, then we do a podcast, and it's like us catching each other up. Right. And we've kind of got to know each other through the quarantine, so we have an understanding, and I think it'll translate in person. But it's just like, I just keep forgetting. I keep forgetting other people they're living their lives. I keep forgetting that. So that makes, I don't know if any of what I'm making sense.
You had me and you lost me. You like that you're still doing stuff?
I've just been so focused on myself that when I start to think like, oh shit, other people are also living this. It's like when you think about
yeah. Okay. you put into words what my general experience, like how I kind of operate and function is like. That's why it hits me in waves. I don't know if this is how it's hitting you, but I get it in weird places. Like I look out my car when I'm stuck in traffic and and something about seeing all the cars makes me go like, each one of these has a story. Every person here has a story, and it gets like very meta that it's like everybody has something that they're doing right now. Like while we're doing this, somebody else is at work or sleeping or dealing with some crazy drama, or maybe a really good thing happened to them. And that's why I get fascinated with humans. Like, and I know that every time I say the word humans, I always feel like, and I'm an alien. like, oh, you humans and your wacky ways. But it's like, I get very fascinated with people because like we do all have that. And it's kind of like why this podcast is interesting to me is to hear your story, like before any of this, right? And before we did any of the EP or any of the other projects, you were just the guy who runs part of the buddy system. And I'm just like, I'm sure he has his story of how he got here to doing comedy, but that's about as far as it went. But like now knowing you a little bit better, it's like, I never would have guessed this is who you are. Like legitimately you from a distance does not give off the same air as you in person.
Can you please? Okay, because I'm having trouble with this.
Okay.
Of how I seem to come off
Mm-hmm.
versus, hey Marlene, of how I seem to come off versus how I just really am when you get to know me.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with it. I'm surprised that people are surprised by the darkness of the thing, the one man show. I'm surprised that they're surprised about the racism. It all is like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. No,
to me.
because you experienced it. For the rest of
Right.
it would be like, and it's not as, because obviously I give off a way more sunshiny vibe, but it to the regular person, right? It's as if I came to you with some like heavy, like, hey, my past, I had been raped a couple times, and and like I'm me, but like in that moment, it's like I don't know how to. Oh, okay, there it is. So you know how we all kind of walk through life, right? And the thing that we do, and I've mentioned this in the other episode, right? Where like you say hello, how are you, or like, hey, how's it going to somebody. Everyone's response is pretty much the same. I'm all right. I'm doing good. I'm chilling. It's cool. How are you? That's usually the back and forth. Now, if you're in a really bad place and the person is close enough to you, you'll let them in and you'll show them that darkness. You'll show them some stuff you're dealing with. But in general, all of us agree to the social contract that we don't do that to each other as strangers. So as strangers, because we signed up for that social contract, in the same way that Facebook works, where you kind of only put out the nice things that are happening, everyone assumes everyone else is doing all right, barring horrible situations. Like, again, COVID-19 happens. Now the baseline of doing okay is just like you're surviving. And everybody understands that. So when you ask, how are you? It's kind of a like, I know it's not the best it could be, but like, you're still here. So that's good. In that same way, that's kind of the thing with you, right? It's like you don't assume people's darkness. You assume everyone's chill until they show you the darkness. So the difference between you when you're like at a distance and I don't know you, or the you before people watch the special, is that like, yeah, you could get that, like, if push comes to shove, you could probably get angry. You have all the regular human emotions that everyone else has. As a black man, yeah, you might get triggered by some race stuff. That's just a part of it. But as far as like the like feeling crazy, this is a comment by Carol. My first impression of you is the same as it is right now.
Carol met me on the street, so that was a different context.
That's what we're saying. Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, was it on site that you saw Chase and you were like, oh, he's dealing with some like.
Carol, I don't know what I said that first time I met you, but if you want to put that into context, you can. What were you saying, Zero?
I was just saying, like, for me, what I would assume is the typical interaction with you before the world of you doing street stand-up. Because now, yeah, I don't know since the special, and again, I'll loop this back around because I'm opening up a lot of threads. Since the special, do you find yourself on the street still talking about as much heavy stuff, or since you got that off your chest, do you try to lean away from it? Would people get the Carol impression immediately on street stand-up that you do now?
It's I would say since the special, since filming it, I've been working on being lighter and talking about, or if I go to a dark place, that I bring it back pretty quickly. So I would say they would still get the same vibe because I still have that passion, but it's a little more controlled now, and I have the ability to like bring it up if I need to.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that also is important to note, is that my context of meeting you was through stand-up. And when you're doing stand-up, unless your material is like pretty dark, then you're making jokes. So I assume all the comics are like chilling on it. Like you're doing okay until somebody lets out some, because that's the thing. I'm one of those, like, I'm genuinely, as much as you would think as a comic, I wouldn't be this, but because I'm me and you've experienced me, you could see where I like rose-colored glasses that I legitimately was like, yeah, people do jokes and yeah, they can talk about dark things, but when they get off stage, they're generally happy. Like, comics are generally happy. And then like as I did comedy, just it kept coming up on stage and off stage that like comics are depressed, comics are crazy, comics are this, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I've hung out like comics are chill. Like, what are you talking? And then like you'd be in the circle afterwards, and then like people start letting out their stuff, and you're like, oh, oh, you guys got trauma. I don't know if I belong here. I don't feel like I should be in this square.
It's weird. Okay. You know what I think it is the racial element. I think people have, because you act white bullshit that I've been hearing my whole life, and especially in comedy, I think people underestimate the things that have happened to me. I think that they assume that, like, because of the way I'm presenting myself, that I haven't experienced any racism, when in actuality, I've probably experienced more racism, a shocking amount of racism, far more than the average person, I think.
Right. It's a kind of, and that's the thing, the way we all decide to handle it differently, right? And again, all of our experiences are different. But it's the interesting thing about you specifically is that your racism stuff, the deep down inside has affected you stuff, only comes out when somebody presses that button. Like when somebody presses that button, it'll go off. Like it's its own thing. It's like, whoa, okay. Yeah. And that's why it's always like, whoa, because it's like, in general, you walk through life. And again, this is all perception. This is what it seems like to me. From a distance, it looks like you walk through life as if like you understand racism is there, but like you don't have a problem with it. But then when the button gets pressed, then it's like, oh, this is oh, he's really passionate about this. Okay, this is something that's genuinely affected him. Usually, when people have the stories that you have, they're pretty on the sleeve about it. They're pretty like, their vibe is very specific. Like in the same way that a lot of people will say like you're being white, I would put it more towards like there's a bitterness. There's a like, it's kind of like the difference between a girl who's dated several jerk guys and she's decided to just kind of be a little more reserved, and a girl who's dated several jerk guys and she's like on Facebook like, men ain't nothing. I hate. Yeah. Like, you know what? I just looking for a good one. Why are you all so horrible? Like, those are the two. And you fall more towards the, like, to myself, I'm just going to put up these walls. I'm just going to have these here so that, like, I'm safe. But, like, in general, I'm keeping them there, but that's it. Whereas others are like, you're like defense, they're like offense. It's like, it's like pretty much, you could tell. There are some, I mean, you've seen it. We're black. We again, it's like you could tell a black person who, like, you know that black issues are going to mess with them. You know that they're going to have something to say. You know that they feel a certain way about certain things. The belief systems are really on the sleeve. And then there's how you and me function, which is kind of like I believe what I believe. And if you're open-minded, I'll tell you my stuff. But if you show me it's not getting in, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to try to force you. Whereas the offense is like, no, you will believe that it's a thing, and you're messed up, like that thing.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I think, I've learned something else recently.
Fun.
Yeah. I need to be able to mentally get back into quarantine while not. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the fuck this is. Are we in quarantine still?
I mean, right? It's like kinda yes, no. I'm waiting for that shoe to drop where like they go. We've decided human life isn't that important, you know. And it's not that it's not important. It's just recognizing that like the Spanish flu was a thing. And at a certain point, you have to go like, yeah, some people are going to die from that thing, and it's horrible, but like we can't live like that. At the same time, it's that thing where it's like, but is it more serious than that? And because we're in that interim gray area where it's like, the numbers are doing this and all this stuff, like sometimes it's the worst thing ever. Sometimes it's fine to go and be out near people, and we're figuring it out. Pretty much it's just that it's a question mark. So we're in question mark word. We play towards worst common denominator. So technically we're in quarantine. That's why we're still forced to wear masks. That's where on the streets, have you seen the like little street signs that are like
Yeah.
always some quirky way of, I don't want to make a bit into this, but like whoever is over street signs, you don't got to be quirky about like telling me to wear a mask or don't drink and drive. Like the amount, like I'm gonna tell them in a like fun way. It's like, hey, you feeling kind of dizzy? Well, don't even start driving with me. Like I'm like, all right, street sign guy, just tell me not to drink or a sign on the highway. I don't have time to process this. But yeah, I've been seeing them for like COVID mask stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, I think we're still in the corner. But you were talking about having that mindset while being in.
I'm gonna say, yeah. Let's say Tiger King quarantine.
Oh, okay. Wow, that is a very specific era. that is some on point branding. That is some Tiger King quarantine. That's a very era of quarantine.
It was my favorite part of quarantine. That was around the time when I was probably, from what I remember, either clicking finally at this piece or I found this really nice groove. And it was just because I didn't have to deal with people. I didn't have to think about people, didn't have to worry about people. And so now that there's people around and there's interactions more, it's easier to slip back into that like thinking about other people mode. So now I'm trying to take the mentality of Tiger King quarantine and implement that no matter what the situation is.
Yeah.
And it's getting, that's what it is. It's getting weird for me. This is getting weird for me in that obviously I'm not famous or anything,
right.
But I think it would be I think you could objectively say like, oh shit, Aaron's getting traction.
Oh yeah.
And what's up?
I said it's picking up for sure.
Yeah, and that's super weird for me on so many levels. Because for one, getting the positive reinforcement, I don't know how to handle at all.
It's been a long time coming for you.
Yeah. So now people are like, wow, man, what you're doing is great. You should keep being yourself. Keep doing this weird shit. It's like,
support is weird.
I don't know how to handle it. What's up?
Support is weird.
No, for real. Getting support from people, super weird. That's weird to me. And then the whole feeling crazy thing, it's like everything all of the stuff I was thinking and believed and was told that I was and believing,
Sorry, thanks. Back that again.
You're good. 2020 was like, hey, by the way, all that stuff people saying you were crazy about, you were actually right, and you aren't crazy. Yeah. But then that makes you feel crazy.
Right.
And then like to have this slow like build with my, it feels weird saying a career, but it's like it's a career now.
Yeah.
Slow build with a career in the weirdest time in history.
Oh yeah.
It's all like, sometimes it becomes overwhelming and I start to realize like, oh, people are listening a little more now. When we do the podcast, it's in my mind a little bit like, oh, people are kind of paying attention. Before it was like, no one gives a fuck about us.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, because, I mean, obviously, it's one of those things where, I mean, they've said it, I don't know if you've seen those commercials, but there was one that was like, some great businesses were born out of tragedies, born out of like really bad situations. And it was a commercial, I think, about something else. But people, because the situation, right, is essentially, hey, there's this thing that's been going on that Black people have been talking about for a long time that hasn't been, you guys weren't listening. You guys aren't listening. And then finally it's being shown and they started listening. Like, okay, now we listen. Now we're trying to listen. Even if it sounds crazy, we at least give it a second and see what it's about. And so in that era, being somebody who has a voice and is out in public or has a platform where you're out in public, where it's like, okay, let's give it let's see what he's saying. As opposed to, it's kind of like the homeless thing, right? Where like as a homeless person, when they come up to you and they're saying all the things, you're kind of like, you know what, like, come on. Like, I know you're going to get to the asking me for money part. So let's just, come on. And then, or sometimes you just completely blank it out. Cause I think we talked about this. It's just like it's just easier to not even have that interaction than it is to like turn it on. And so now we're in an era where it's like, oh, when we did that, this is the negative side of that. So now let's kind of overcorrect in a little bit, but like still in that overcorrection, they are giving you like more like attention, as it were. I can't think of a better word, but it's like, yeah, in the regular world, I think if before COVID, anything, all that stuff, if you were doing street stand up, I still think just innately from doing something so out there, because there's nobody who was really doing it like that, I think you would still get some traction, but I definitely think you would have been more brushed off as like the crazy guy on the corner who's always talking about racism, or like, especially with the way that it started. It was like, if you had done that in the regular world, it'd be like, and he calls it comedy, but like, I don't hear no joke, like that whole thing. And so, I don't know. I do think it's a very specific era, but it works.
Yeah, it's working, and I'm happy that it's working. It's just weird. It's just hard for me to. I'm sure eventually I'll figure it out, find a groove. But okay, so like the it's comedy thing. The entire time you've known me, I've been trying to do what I just did, and I'm going to improve on that. But I've been trying to figure out like how do I want to take a different angle at this. And I've had comics tell me from day one, like, hey, man, you need more jokes, need more punchlines. You're fucking it up. You're not doing right. This isn't funny. And it's like, I understand all of that, but I have a vision. Like, I have a thing I'm trying to do. Uh-huh. And now that it's out there and there's people who are like clicking for them, like, oh, this is kind of what he was trying to do this whole time. It's weird that it's coming to fruition. It's weird, like developing a career right now is just so it's weird. I know I keep repeating myself. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around everything. Yeah. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, it's a very specific time, and then there's another part of me that's like, I think that's just the journey of like things starting to pan out. I don't see a world where even in regular world, if stuff started to turn around. For me, even, who's a generally positive guy who does think he's funny, it's like, if it starts turning around, I'm going to be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, people like me. Like, you do it and you believe it, but like, it's still, there's a difference. Go ahead.
It's trippy where like, yeah, we talked about this when we were making the EP. The like, we both feel like eventually we'll get there. Yeah. But when that traction when it moves just a little bit, it's like, oh shit, like this is really possible, and I'm seeing the steps towards that light at the end of the tunnel is just getting a little brighter, and I think I was saying this to a friend yesterday. I think I'm a little. Get ready for that yin. Is it yang?
Yin is the dark one. Yang is the light one.
I'm feeling kind of sad.
Oh, meta.
Because I can't when you hear stories like Bill Burr, and Patrice O'Neal, and Kevin Hart, they're all, and Jim Norton, they're all hanging out the Comedy Store or whatever the fuck together, and they all come the Boston Comedy Club, and they come up together. There's this little piece of me that's sad that like I can't hang out with Zero at a show and we're coming up together. Like, I don't want to word it as like I'm passing everyone up.
Oh yeah,
but like I'm in a position where I'm not gonna stop just to like wait for everybody. Like I'm in a position where I just so happen to be. This happens to be the perfect situation for me, and I'm gonna utilize that. But it sucks that like I can't have fun with my friends while we're doing it.
Right. That it feels like you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, it's so like alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other side of that, just to yang it, is that, yeah, while you're coming up, like in the specific era that you're in right now, there's a certain amount of loneliness. But that's not true. I mean, KJ's right next to you. I'm doing the podcast, which like you do the podcast with Will. Like you still have those moments, And you don't realize that your success is our success. Every time you tag us in a thing, every time you're in a thing with us, that helps us adjacently. Because how do you find all the people that you like? Like recommendeds. Like, oh, who is this person? If you vibe with Aaron, you probably vibe with me. If you vibe with Aaron, you probably vibe with KJ. If you vibe with Aaron, you probably vibe with Will. And Will lead you to George. You don't realize it that in focusing on you, there's a very meta thing here, and I'll try to keep it small because I have a whole rant for this, but I'll keep it short. There's a meta to the giving and receiving, and sometimes I think we all forget that like self-love and all that stuff is important both for yourself in general, but when you handle your own stuff, you actually are helping everyone around you. Because when you are a light in a room, you're brightening up everybody else's day. And I'll loop this back around to you. When you're making a come up, right, and you're doing your thing, and let's say your thing is taking off, even the little bit that it is, look at the people who pop into this, even if it's just to hear you, they're seeing me by adjacent. Even if they just listen to ACMM, they're listening to all the comments that you put on ACMM. They listen to you and Will, and they like seeing you with Will. Yes, they're coming for the you, but I can't tell you how many people that I've really loved off of somebody that I thought I really liked. Like, I found one person that I was like, oh, this is the dude. And then he had a featured guest on, and I was like, it's okay. And then I went to go look at him, and I'm like, no, this is the dude. And so, like, it does feel alone right now. But, like, there is a come up with us at the same time. As you're going up, we're also going up. And we all got our own projects. It's not like we're all riding your coattails. And like, but at the same time, it's like, you're not alone. At the same, and then in that same world, hey, look who it is. In that same world, I would also say that, like, as you go up, you're going to run into people. Like, if you're coming up, if everybody you know is here, and you're making a come up, and everybody who, like, is up there is here, eventually when you get here, you'll make friends here too. Like, it's not like once you get there, they're like, we're too good for you. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some of those, but I think there's bound to be at least one chill person.
Okay, this will be helpful for me because I can't, when you're too close to the elephant, I feel like I'm also too close to the elephant. I can't gauge how well I'm doing or not doing because I don't know what the fuck everyone else is doing. I don't know what things look like from the outside of me.
Right.
So I can't tell. Am I on like? Am I being egotistical? This is the thing I keep going in my head. Am I being egotistical by thinking like, no, it's working. Things are happening.
No, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you're getting. I think you have to, otherwise, what are you doing? If you're not looking at your stuff and seeing if it's benefiting you or negatively affecting you, then you're not reviewing. You're not self-editing. And so, like, that. And it's not egotistical. Again, this is a thing that's been said to me that I'm still taking in. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. But it's like, I feel like anybody who worries about a thing is probably not going to be that thing. So if you're worried about being egotistical, you think somebody egotistical is worried about being egotistical? Like, you think Kanye is sitting around like, I hope people don't take this the wrong way. It's like, they don't. It's like, and anybody that's projecting that on you, that's not on you. That's just kind of a part of their thing. So, like, you're worried about it. The fact that you're even thinking about it, it's not a thing. Now,
all right. Well,
say that, like, there are people who are going to perceive it as that. You've experienced that, like, throughout all time. So there's nothing you can do about that. Some people are going to see you having a little bit of followers and you talking about it, like how you felt when you hit 1,000. And while 1,000 in internet numbers is nothing, it's still a huge gain from where you were. It's still a huge gain from, like, starting from 100 or 200. And, like, doing it off of comedy is a big thing. Like, it's giving yourself the credit where it's due. But, like, you're aware that it's like, you understand where you are. Like, you started this with, like, I'm not saying I'm famous. I'm not saying this. I'm like, all that prefacing is already handling that part. And there's nothing wrong. Like, that's the thing, too, is, like, you look at rappers, and there's a certain amount, and we've seen in My Hero Academia, there's a certain amount that's, like, talk your stuff, man. Like, it's like, you got to own sometimes. Like, especially someone like you, quite frankly, if I'm being honest, you would serve better to be a little more up your butt. Like, I'm not saying like go crazy or like
Yeah.
I'm the stuff. Like, don't be crazy. But obviously, like, given how much like it's weird for you to take positive criticism, you don't know that like I have an idea that I'm doing and it's finally coming around, but I don't like it would do you some good to be like, no, I'm dope. Like, I'm dope and I'm finally getting the result that I deserve from being dope. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think I'll get there eventually. It's like right now, because I'm so isolated, it's hard for me to gauge. Okay, fuck. There's got to be. It's like when you're in an airplane. You've flown before?
Nah,
Of course you
in an
have.
airplane. I got to California walking.
You walked. You walked with a bindle and stick, and you had a donkey.
Funny? I make that joke, but I did drive from Missouri to here, so that.
Oh well.
And I flew back to go see my mom. This is all not important. I've been in an airplane.
There's like it's a perception thing. The perception of you in the airplane looks different from someone looking at the airplane.
Yes.
And
sometimes so you're an airplane. Weird. So you're really high above me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm better and above everybody.
Wow, the truth comes out. I always do it. You know what? I don't want to do the podcast with you anymore. Your head's too big. Go ahead.
Just like man, I love the isolation in many ways. It's been healthy for me. I think I finally hit a point where I'm like, okay, all right. I think it's time to be at a real open mic. I think it's time to hang out around my friends more. Like I'm starting to finally get this feeling of like, okay, I think I understand myself in a big way. Now I'm ready to be around people again and see how that works, how that dynamic works. And I can't do that. And the world's strange. My career path is the weirdest fucking thing ever. I don't think anyone's ever tried to become a successful stand-up comic from the street. It's such everything's weird. I think I'm just trying to gain perspective from other people looking outside in. I think like when you said that people were a little concerned, they were like, when Nick Laney and Johnny Gold were like, is he okay? It's like, oh, okay, I can gauge how other people are seeing whatever this is. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It is, I mean, it's all very fascinating. I mean, it is a very specific time, like you said. It is also a lot of, I mean, that's a part of the putting yourself in the public perception and public eye. And more and more I understand why people have PR departments. That I'm like, that's why you need that to help both mitigate it from their end, but then also what you're taking in. What did you have it on?
I have a yin. Yin?
Yin is the negative. Yang is the positive.
Fuck, I have a yang. I have a yang.
Okay. Yang me.
Okay. You sound exhausted.
I was just trying to understand what it is. Like, I'm interested in what it is.
So now that I put the special out, now that I'm getting more eyes on me, I made a GoFundMe. I haven't put it out anywhere yet. Yeah. I'll explain.
Okay. All right.
So you know my goal of getting the RV, right?
Yes.
So I have a good amount saved up, I don't want to say.
Okay.
But I'm going to put a GoFundMe out to try to supplement that so I can get the RV sooner, so I can like get that much closer to that financial freedom, being able to do shows and tour and all that stuff. Right. Like, so now that I have a little bit of a following, I'm going to put this GoFundMe out, use that following to say, hey guys, invest in me. Know that I'm not where I want to be comedically yet, not where I want to be financially, but I'm working at it. And if you help me out, I'll get there.
Right.
So that's my new project is GoFundMe, put that out there and try to get this RV as soon as possible.
Okay. How long has the RV been the dream now?
Fuck, man, since I was in high school.
Really?
At first it was like that Scooby-Doo fucking VW bus type of thing.
Mystery machine?
Yeah, I want to get my own mystery machine. Then it developed into an RV, and it developed in a mature way now, because now I also want to get a condo and all that stuff. But like in my head, I've always been like, no, it seems like it would make sense for me to be in an RV.
Okay. Okay. I see what you mean. Where will you when the dream comes true? Do you think you'll like travel within California? Or are you gonna go like full nationwide?
Eventually nationwide, but first I need to learn how to live in an RV.
I gotta figure out living first.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, genuinely thinking, what if I just moved to Colorado?
Hmm. Nice place, I've heard.
Yeah, nice place, not racist to my knowledge.
Everybody's got a
Uh,
little bit, but
that's fair.
yeah,
Not,
I
but it's
haven't
not like
heard any
going to.
news. Like I have
Yeah,
most of the bigger news stories aren't Colorado, from what I know.
yeah. Getting the fuck out of Riverside is going to be important for me. And California is in a weird place
Oh yeah.
that is makes me uneasy. So I'm like, I want to go somewhere that no one talks about.
I'm just gonna piece from this. Um, yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's cool. All hopes to you. I hope the GoFundMe goes well and all that jazz. As for me, my current plans are I'm trying to make the internet come up work. I'm trying to figure out that middle place between like you know how like sometimes like there's the vision and there's a vision will work, and then there's a vision that like you want to do, and like you don't do the vision that will work because it's just not what you want. Like for instance, this is me. I don't know why I'm talking in vagues. Essentially, I know how the YouTube game works. I know what I would have to do to make the come up in YouTube as a YouTuber and just be like a YouTuber. It would still take time. I'm not saying it's easy or I would do it overnight, but I'm saying I understand what I would have to do. I've seen a good couple that I like doing and I would do, and I know what I would do to do it. However, I don't want to come up the way that I know works coming up. I want to come up from my stand-up comedy and skits, not from what I would do, which is like there are these subsections of reading Reddits that are like really interesting to me, like nice guys, nice girls, like people they give their color commentary on like very subgroups like incels and all this stuff. They'll read like screenshots from other people or stories and then they'll give their little 2 cents. And I feel like I could make that funny, but I just don't want to do that. Also reaction videos, though to be fair, there's a version of reaction videos I might do, but I'll get into that down the line if I do it. But like all of that stuff, I like I feel like I want to push the stand up and skits because that's what I am. That's what I
Yeah.
do. This thing is like, yeah, that's a sugar coated, like fun thing that can happen sometimes. But in general, I want you to come and know that I'm about stand up. And so that's why all of my stuff has been like editing trying to make stand up at home work, which I'm still figuring out the tweaks of it. I think a lot of it, unlike, or at least to piggyback on the thing you were saying about how, you needing people or like being around people. I think I need to find a better system of working out my material because when I do it for stand up at home, I can feel it's not as funny as when I do it for an open mic. And yet when like it's the same thought and I'll say it the same, but there's something about the immediate, and this is what I always liked about original stand up is the immediate interaction. Like if I say a
Yeah.
joke and it doesn't hit, cool, I'll make a new one. But like if I make a whole video, edit the whole video, upload it, then I have to wait. Then finally I get like a couple likes, and some of those likes are from family members or people that just support me no matter what I do, and I can't get an accurate gauge. And then sometimes people, yes, Aaron.
How was performing?
Oh,
I saw that you.
it was cool. It was man, it was so again, it's like, and that's what kind of sparked the thought in me again, is because like doing it for people was so much like I missed this. Like this, it was nice and immediate, and 10 minutes was not enough time for me. I just wanted to talk for a while, but like, and I decided to go with like half stuff I know works and half stuff that like I haven't been to an open mic, so let me just try it. Obviously, the trying it stuff didn't go over as great. It still had a kind of laugh, but it wasn't as great. Um, but yeah, doing it in general was it was just nice in a way that I remember, and I'm like, this is the thing. And even though the audience wasn't crazy because COVID and people had to stay really far apart, but it was a really nice show. Everybody did chill. Hey, look, Nick's here. Yeah, I'm talking about the
Hey, Nick, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Don't worry.
I was telling him about how you and Johnny were asking about like his where he was at mentally. But
I'm good.
The show in general was really nice. I mean, I will say there was a kind of like there was the venues thing. For some reason, they didn't have AC or didn't want to turn on AC. So like it was really hot for the audience and us in the back, and so we had to try to make it be funny past that. Also, again, everybody's obviously a little bit rusty, but we still got some pretty good laughs. So I don't know. I thought it was a nice show. I thought it was cool, and I appreciate the Nick Polias for putting it on. So shouts out to Nick Polias. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yang.
Yes.
Okay. And this is going to be up my own asshole. You ready?
That's good.
I think whenever we come back to open mics, because I'm building material again now. Like now I've decided to start writing again.
Mm.
I think when we come back to mics, I'm going to be way better. Like I'm a fucking murder that shit. I'm pretty confident of it.
All right. That's good.
I think because I think I learned so many skills. I've been out there on the street for hours at a time. The idea of doing, once I have material again, the idea of doing 20 minutes, nothing to me. That's like, yeah, I'm out there for fucking 4 hours. 20 minutes is like easy.
Yeah.
So I think once I have material again, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in it. I can't imagine there's so many, and we've talked about this before, so I'll make it very short. There's so many net positives to doing what you do that it's like, as much as, again, I'm considering it, I'm just trying to get my funds up to be in a safer place before I like go spending money on fun stuff. Even though not fun is like the dream chase, but like I, again, do it the safe way before I do it the risky way. But like, yeah, there's so many net positives to doing what you do that as much as people will see the like Sucker Punch episode, and even in it, you were like, I understand this would make other people stop, but I won't. To me, it's like, I understand not stopping more than anything. It's like everything that's coming from it, you're actually still getting, like you're getting everything that an open mic is without having to share with anybody else. And also, like you said, the time difference is special. You're also getting audience regardless, just because where you're at is always random people because they're out, which is a thing. And so that's nice. It's very like, yeah, I get it. And again, maybe at one day, but right now I'm kind of, again, focusing on my thing.
Thank you, Nick. He said, I believe in you, Aaron. Thank you. And do you think the danger that, because I was talking about, we talked about how like I was expecting people to latch onto this and try to do it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen at all, actually. Do you think it's the danger?
I'm honestly surprised. No, I think it's that same I want to do it, don't want to do it energy.
Yeah.
That I think more than anything, comics, and this is a huge generalization, and it's not true of all comics. Other people in the buddy system, tons of other comedians I've seen, because like if you look into Hollywood, there's a whole scene out there that's still doing a lot of great things. But in general, comedy is a lazy profession. Like the baseline person, if you put us all in a room, it's like you're probably going to find like 70% don't want to do too much. I think the effort, well, first of all, let's talk financially. Financially, they have to save up enough money to buy a speaker system and get a mic, which doesn't seem like much. How much? Yours ran you like what, like 200?
Roughly.
Yeah, so like $200. Doesn't seem like much to save up, but giving A, our current financial situation in general, B, like that you just don't want to risk it for like what it is. It's like $200 for something like that just seems like what if I'm lazy, I get the system, I go out there, it doesn't work out for me, and then I quit. Am I going to return the speaker system? Like, what do I do? Like that whole thing. But that's financially. Two is what Nick is saying right now. No one has the patience to be out there, especially by themselves. I do think it's like it is a slot out of your day, time out of your day that some people are using to rest from work. Some people are using just because they want to chill. They don't want to think about it. And again, they like to have it like given. Like here you go. Like here's an open mic. Go to the open mic. Like that's the thing too. It's like how many people were you seeing hard hit open mics, and that's when the space and the mic was given to you. And like they would still sometimes show up and be like, I don't know. And I come here, but I don't even go on. So like the amount of like want to do it is not there. And I'm surprised too. I genuinely thought that when push came to shove and they weren't able to hit mics, the drive to want to do comedy would put. Now, to be fair, other people have pushed into doing like Zoom mics. So that's another thing. I personally, not my cup of tea. I don't do it. But like, if that's what they're into, then I say do you. As long as you're still working, that's chill. But like, I totally get where like they don't want to. Yep, they don't want to build a stage for themselves or others. Yeah, it's like it's too much work is the long and short of it.
It's just, I guess what's strange to me, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. I'm trying to understand people. I think what's strange to me is if I see something that's working, I just start emulating that. 846 and one man show. It's the same goddamn thing. Like this, it's the same shit just coming from my own angle.
Right.
And the thought process was, oh, Dave Chappelle, I said it in the beginning, I was like, Dave Chappelle did this. I know I can do this, at least my version of it, so I'll just do this.
Right.
Or the street stand-up came from Dave Chappelle. It was like Dave Chappelle did street stand-up, so I know I physically can do that. I'm going to just do that.
Right.
I don't understand people.
Really?
Maybe there's just something wrong with me.
No, I mean, yes and no. Wrong.
Yeah.
Here's meta talk. We got 7 minutes, but I'm going to try to squeeze it. So, wrong with you is just like different. It's like, it's wrong in a certain regard because you could make all the things about your history and your thing with not getting positive affirmation and make that into a whole to-do about like how putting yourself out there doesn't mean as much because you're used to getting hate. It's not as much of a negative to you because you've already been in that world. So like people coming at you isn't really that bad. But for other people who haven't experienced as much bad negative reinforcement, that's like actually putting themselves way out there, and it would actually hurt way more to be in front of strangers. Two, there's also the part of it that's like, it's that thing they say about like crazy, right? Like some of the greatest people in history have been insane. There's like a book about like how Gandhi and Martin Luther King and like a bunch of other people actually had a lot of mental messed up stuff going on with them that they just used for the greater good. And so there's stuff like that where like it's harder for, they say the enemy of the best is the good. If you start from lower, you have to work harder to get to normal so you respect it more. But that same hard work that got you from bottom to normal is also what'll keep pushing you from going to normal to great. Whereas if you're at normal and you're okay, you don't really feel that drive to push too hard. You'll push a little bit, but then if it's not working, you'll kind of just come back to normal. It's like, it's a little bit harder. And I don't know, I understand it both for you and for other people because people, more than anything, humans are not driven. Humans are like, they're searching for content. They're not working to like feel the joy of working or like, or to like live the best life possible. They're working or doing whatever they need to do to live an okay, content life. What do I need to be all right with myself? If I can have a roof over my head, food on my table, clothes on my back, and I can have fun to me in my own regards, whether that be sitting on my couch and watching something or hanging with my girl or whatever, that's all they ask for. And everything else is like this. Louis C.K. had a bit about like a believey. Like it's this thing that you hold in yourself that you believe, but you don't really really want. You'll take it if it's given to you, but you don't really want it. You kind of got this half-hearted thing going on where it's like they like the idea of they would be that if they tried. That's a way better thing than like actually trying really hard and failing, because that would hurt. Whereas for you, it's like, I'm already like, it can't get any worse than this. So I might as well.
No.
So it's,
It sounds like Aaron already grew up going against the grain in his family, which is your most intimate environment. I don't know why I
Yeah,
became an idiot
I'm
for a
like,
second.
man, he's struggling on this word.
Yeah, I went to college and I could not pronounce intimate for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's used to have to get things for himself. That makes sense. I guess it makes sense, and it is what it is, and I have to worry about myself regardless. Thank you, Nick. I have to worry about myself regardless.
True.
It's just it's just something that confuses me.
Yeah.
And so I'm still
you're one of those
trying to get
you're one of those sweethearts that believes what people say.
Yeah.
Like you're like there's this female friend of mine who like she still gets baffled and she goes, and we talk about it in circles, but it's that classic like guy girl thing where like he said all these things. How could he say all these things and then do these things? It's like well,
Yes.
well, I mean,
I relate to your friend so much. I used to be there, haha, says Nick. I relate to that so much of like, why the fuck are you saying you want to do this thing if you're not gonna don't say the thing that you're gonna try to.
No.
If you try to do it and you fail.
No, Aaron, they have to say the thing because they need to feel good about themselves. They have to believe that they're good people. They have to believe that it's worth it. Because what would it mean to have to admit to yourself? To say like out loud. Yeah. What does it mean to say what you truly are at that level? To be like, I don't really want to do this. It just makes me feel like I exist for a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, that's a hard thing to ask somebody to admit truthfully. Also, we have a minute. So do you want to keep going? Do you want to just call it?
I'm going to have work soon. So yeah, we can call it.
All right. So this has been another episode of A to Z, you guys. We talked about a lot of stuff, as we usually do. I'm great at wrapping up. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate those of you that have in the chat, watched us the whole time. We appreciate those that are viewing it later. I'm Zero Rimson. You can find me at @0_KR Anime on Instagram. My friend here is Aaron Chase. You can find them at Aaron Chase 91 on Instagram. You can find this whole podcast on Bloody System Comedy on YouTube. And you can find my stuff by searching Zero Rimson on YouTube. So, support us. Aaron's about to have a GoFundMe come up soon, so go see that. Thanks for chilling with us. Appreciate ya. Later.